Hello and welcome to Microbit Mondays, a short course where we're going to be learning how to program one of these little fellas, a microbit. So what is a microbit? Well, you can think of it like a small programmable computer. Unlike a computer that you might be used to where you've got to load on an operating system, different bits of software, this is much simpler. We write some code, we upload it onto the microbit, and then it will just sit there happily running it forever. It's a really great way to get started with these sorts of programmable microcontrollers, as they're called. It's cool because it's very easy to use. It's also got a bunch of built-in hardware, so we don't need to wire other things up to get making interesting stuff. You can see we've got this little 5x5 LED matrix, as it's called in there. We can use that to display text and pictures and all sorts of cool stuff. We've got buttons built in, so we can use them to add interactivity. It's also got things like an accelerometer, which means it can detect movement, temperature sensor, light sensor, and we can connect other things up to this as well. So there's a lot of stuff built in here to allow us to get started really easily. So what are we going to be doing? This week we're just going to do a really simple introduction. We'll have a look at the website that you go to write the code and get the code onto this thing, and make a few really simple little programs that just display some pictures. And then in the weeks ahead we'll look at expanding on this and making some kind of slightly more complicated stuff, some kind of cool games and a bit more interactive stuff. So to start off, on my computer here, I'm going to go over to my web browser and I'm going to go over to the Microbit website, which as you can see is microbit.org. I'll just make this full screen and you come to this website here. Now there's loads of really cool stuff on here. It's definitely worth having a look at. There's all sorts of projects you can do. But to get started, what we're going to do is go over to this Let's Code tab at the top. If we click on that, we get to this screen. And then we're going to click on the Make Code Editor here. And this brings up the main window that we're going to be using as part of this. This is where we make our new projects. And you can also see there's a whole bunch of tutorials down here. It's really easy to use. We're going to just click on Make New Project. And we need to give this a name. So let's call this one Introduction. We click on Create. And it brings us to this window, which is the main window where we're going to be doing all of our coding. So what we have here, instead of writing code in the way that you may think of it traditionally, where you have to write lots of lines of text, we've got these little blocks, and we can kind of fit these blocks together a bit like a jigsaw puzzle to make our code that makes our microbit do something. You can see here we've got all our different categories. If we click on one of these, it shows all the different blocks we can use in that category, and it's really simple case of just clicking and dragging them into the main window, and then we can join them up together just like a jigsaw puzzle to make something happen. So let's make something happen. What I'm going to do is use this Show LEDs block and connect it to the on start thing. Don't worry too much about what these mean for now. Let's just make something happen. So drag in the Show LEDs from this list on the side into the main window and connect it up to this block. I'm going to use this to draw a little picture. I'm going to draw a little smiley face in here just by clicking there really simply. And now what we'll be able to see is on our simulator on the side here, it shows us what would actually happen on the microbit. So the simulator is really useful because it shows us what would actually be displayed on our real microbit if we loaded this code onto it. It allows you to get a bit of a sneak preview and an idea of what might happen before you go loading it on. So before we go loading some actual code onto the microbit, let's make this slightly more interesting. I'm going to click on this Show LEDs and just delete it for now. And I'm going to go into this input section here. And you can see we've got this block here called on button A pressed. And as you might be able to guess, what this is going to do is do something when we press the A button on the microbit. So let's make it display one picture when we press button A and a different picture when we press button B. So what I'm going to do is go back to basic, drag one of these Show LED blocks and put it inside this on button A pressed. And I'm going to draw my little smiley face again. And I'm going to take another block, the same one, on button pressed, but on this little drop down menu here I'm going to change this to B. So this is going to be the other button on the other side of the microbit. And then again I'm going to drag a little Show LED block into this, And maybe this time let's draw a little frowny face. Now if we give that a minute to load, we'll be able to see on our simulator, if we press this little A button so we can simulate what would happen when we press the buttons, just click on it there and we see smiley face. And now if we click the B button, we can see the frowny face. So that's good because we know our code works. So hopefully this makes some kind of sense. It's designed to be very easy to use. It's almost, you can just read it and understand what it's going to do. So it says here, on button A pressed, show these LEDs. On button B pressed, show this picture with the LEDs. Pretty simple. So before you can upload any code onto your microbit, you just need to make sure that it's connected to your computer with the USB cable. It's really easy to do. One end of the USB cable just plugs into the back of the microbit here, clicks in, and then you just plug the other end of the USB cable into your computer and you're ready to go. So let's look at how we would actually get the code onto the microbit. We click on this download button. And what that will do is actually download a little file onto your computer. Now what we need to do is put that file onto the microbit. So if I close this little window down, I'm going to go back to my desktop. Now I'm on a Mac computer. This would be slightly different, though pretty similar if you're on a PC. You can see I've got my little microbit here on the desktop. It appears in the exact same way as if you had a USB thumb drive on your computer, one of those little removable devices you can put files on. So all I need to do is go to my downloads, wherever they are, and drag this microbit file and copy it over onto the microbit. Like I say, if you're on a PC, this will be slightly different, but the principle is exactly the same. And now if we look at our microbit again, you can see that the animation we had running initially is gone because we've uploaded a new program onto it. So hopefully now, if we press our buttons, we should see exactly what we saw in the simulator earlier, which when we press the A button, we show a smiley face, and when we press the B button, we have a frowny face. So excellent, we're up and running, we've got our first program onto the microbit. So now we've got our first really simple program onto the microbit, let's look at making some kind of animation or some kind of flashing image. So what I'm going to do is delete both of these for now, and I'm going to put another LED block back in our on start block, and I'm going to draw a little smiley face again. And then what I'm going to do under this is put another one with the frowny face in. What we can see here is it does it really quickly once. It shows our smiley face and then it shows our frowny face. So what if we wanted this to just keep going and looping between the two of them? Well, then what we need to do is put these two blocks in the forever block. You'll notice when you start a new microbit project, you've always got these on start and these forever blocks in. And what this means is anything we put in the on start block will happen just once when the microbit turns on. Anything that we put in the forever block will keep looping around and going again and again and again. So if I move these two blocks into the forever block, we should be able to see the difference. So now if you look here on the simulator, instead of just doing this little animation once, it keeps looping through the two of them, having the smiley face and the frowny face again and again and again. Now what if we didn't like the speed of this? What if we thought it was a bit fast and we wanted this to happen maybe a little slower? Well, we can do that by adding a pause in. So if we go back to our basics and we grab one of these pause blocks here, we can put this in between these two, and what this will do is make it stop for a little bit before it goes on to the next one. And we can change the time of this. We can make it a longer time so it's a bigger pause. You should hopefully be able to see now that that's a bit slower. Now pauses are in milliseconds. A millisecond is 1,000th of a second, so it can be a bit confusing to get your head around if you've never used them before. If you're used to working in seconds, you can see if you click on the little down arrow here, we do actually have 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, so we can try that. 2 seconds will be quite slow. but some of these smaller ones are in milliseconds. It's something you get used to the more you start coding, because a lot of coding works in milliseconds. 500 milliseconds is basically half a second. So if we wanted the same image to just flash off and on instead, we could do it something like this. In our forever loop again, we could show our little image with the show LEDs block, add a pause in, and then we could add in this clear screen block which lives over here again in the basics. So what this will do is clear the screen for us so there's nothing on, add in another little pause, and then it will just loop back round again and again. You can see over here on the simulator, it's just flashing that image off again and again. So there's lots of interesting possibilities of animations you can do here. Have a play around with different pictures and stuff and see what you can come up with. Over here in our basics, we've also got the ability to show numbers or text on our screen. So I can drag this show string in, and in programming lingo, string means show some text. So I can delete this from here for now maybe, and I'll put this back in the forever block. And so we can see now over on our simulator when it loads, it shows this string hello, just scrolling again and again across the screen. And of course we can just click on this and type whatever we want into there. As you can see now, it's updated with our new text. Nice and easy to use. So before we finish up today, I just thought I'd show you this, which brings together a few of the things we've talked about today and one extra little thing as well. So what this does, as you can see hopefully, is it responds to two different button presses, where the button A or button B is pressed, just like we did before. And then what it's going to do is show a piece of text depending on which button is pressed. So button A will show feeling happy, button B will show need a hug. And then what it's going to do is do our little smiley flashing animations just like we did before. It's going to show the smiley face, pause, clear the screen, and then pause again. Because we've put it in this loop here, which lives in the green section here, you can see as well it's really nice, they're all color coded, so you can kind of tell where they've come from. This repeat 4 times, as you can probably guess, it's going to repeat everything that's within this green bit here 4 times before it goes back. So on our simulator again, if we press the A button, we can see it does our text for us. Let's say feeling happy, and then after it's done scrolling that, it'll flash our smiley face 4 times and then turn off again. And now it's waiting for our next button press. And of course if we press button B, we get our other text and it'll flash the frowny face. And just like before, if we want to get this onto our micro bit, we just come down here and we click download, drag the file on. So now we can see on the micro bit, I press the button, we've got our text on, and we'll have our flashing animation in a second. So there we go, a simple little mood badge you could wear to tell people how you're feeling. So last thing this week is just to look quickly about how we save our code so we can come back and work on it later. Now it's really good because the Microbit website automatically saves code for you. So if we come back to the main screen we started on, we can see that it's automatically saved our projects that we've been working on for us. We've got the mood badge one that I just showed you earlier, and we've got the introduction one that we were doing before. So these get automatically saved in here. So as long as you use the same browser to come back in, these will be saved here for you. Also, if we go back into one of our pieces of code that we've made and we click on this little save disk icon next to the name, what this will do is download one of those files to the computer. So we've got that saved on our computer now. And if we ever want to bring this back in, we can just click on this import here and then import file, and we can just go somewhere on our computer, find one of our pieces of code, click open, go ahead, and there we go, it's loaded back into the editor for us. So if you want to save something for later and come back and work on it, that's how you do it. I'll make all of the code for this lesson and the upcoming lessons available at a link I'll put in the description of the video below. You can use that method of importing code to bring it in if you want to have a look at how some of the stuff is done. But that's it for this week. Just a really simple, quick introduction and how you can start using microbits. Next week we'll look at how we can do some more advanced stuff and start making something a little bit more interesting with our microbits. So join us then.